At number 10, Bella Thorne. If there's one thing that Disney hates, it's when people talk badly about them. They like keeping their brand as clean, drama-free, and family-friendly as possible, so when people, especially their former stars, come out with their stories about working with Disney and having negative attention thrown their way, Disney does the best they can to shut that person out and cut ties to save them the drama. This is the case for Bella Thorne, as she's done multiple interviews talking about her bad experience working for Disney, which, as you could imagine, hasn't made the company very happy. Bella has told sources about how they used to force her to speak in a higher-pitched voice to seem more cute and wholesome, and she caused a scandal among executives when she was a young teenager because she was photographed in a bikini and Disney wanted to fire her for it. Disney has kept their distance from Bella since she left the company to pursue more mature roles, and now there is no chance that they will ever hire her back.
And at number 9, Edward Norton. Edward Norton is a very talented actor, but he is difficult to work with. Disney learned this for themselves after they cast Norton in The Incredible Hulk. After shooting that movie, he was not asked to return for any sequels because he was such a pain on set. And Disney has a reputation for not putting up with any entitled actors, so if the studio senses any unprofessionalism, they will cut an actor very quickly, which is exactly what happened to Norton. And they replaced Norton with Mark Ruffalo in the Avengers franchise. Since then, he has not appeared in any Disney movies, and I wouldn't assume that will change.
At number 8, Lindsay Lohan. There have been a number of former child stars that the media have dubbed a child star gone bad, and the majority of them being former Disney stars. One of the first celebrities that you might think of who fits this narrative is probably Lindsay Lohan, which is why they probably would never hire her again. There was a time when Lindsay was one of the most sought after young actresses in the industry thanks to Disney. From starring in films like The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, Disney loved Lindsay, and this catapulted her career through her childhood and teenage years. But then there came a time when Lindsay sort of burned out and went down a dark path, so to speak. Soon she was in the media for misdemeanor arrests, drug charges, substance abuse, rehab, jail sentences, probation, and a number of other unfortunate happenings in her life. Since her time working for Disney, Lindsay has been in her fair share of Hollywood scandals, and as we know, Disney does not like bad press. Though she will forever be linked with the company since that's where she got her big break, they will no doubt forego hiring her for anything they were producing because of her tarnished reputation.
And at number 7, Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez might be the most famous Disney star ever, getting her start on the show Wizards of Waverly Place. She always remained very brand friendly in her years working with Disney and hardly gotten any scandals the studio would not approve of. But that all changed in 2012 when she decided to change her nice girl image and act in the movie Spring Breakers. This film was not only a flop in many ways, but it was very scandalous. She then produced the Netflix series 13 Reasons Why, another controversial show about bullying in high school and the devastating effects it can have. After shedding her perfect image, it's not likely the studio will work with her ever again.
At number 6, Jake Paul. Looking at Jake Paul now, you could honestly forget that he used to be a Disney star. I mean, you look at the guy post-boxing match, bloody and bruised, and it's hard to imagine that face on the Disney Channel. But before 2017, Jake Paul was a member of the cast of Bizaardvark until he got fired from the show. Though he was a pretty hard-working actor, something that was once his passion, he also was in the midst of running Team 10, and at this point it was still fairly new but incredibly successful. At this point in time, Jake was frequently in the news because of backyard fires, noise complaints, police calls, and just being a nuisance to his neighbors, something that they complained about often. After all of Jake's bad press, he got a call from the show's executives saying that they were going to start weaning him off the show, and eventually took him off the show completely. Disney didn't need this kind of bad press from someone that the media was calling a YouTube brat. Jake didn't really seem to mind getting let go from his job since it allowed him to grow his YouTube presence even more, and I guess it worked out because now he's a really annoying boxer, and I doubt Disney would ever want to hire Jake back.
Halfway at number 5, Vanessa Hudgens. Vanessa Hudgens gained notoriety from the hit Disney movie High School Musical. She was another star who stayed out of trouble and followed the rules during her time with the studio. But when she turned 18, she got into a scandal that ruined her relationship with Disney. In 2007, nude photos of Vanessa's were leaked to the public. These were photos meant for the eyes of her boyfriend at the time, Zac Efron. At that time, nobody was sympathetic about the leak, rather the public actually shamed her for taking the photos in the first place. At first, Disney wanted to cut her from the studio altogether, but High School Musical 3 senior year was set to film, and the franchise was so successful, they still decided to include Vanessa. However, they made her apologize for the photos first, which is so bizarre because her privacy was the thing that was violated. Since then, she hasn't appeared in any Disney movies, but has been successful in some other movies.
At number 4, Miley Cyrus. Even though so many of us loved seeing Miley Cyrus on the Disney Channel, apparently it was a nightmare for her. Over the years since leaving Disney, she has been very outspoken about her time on set, as well as how being a child star on the Disney Channel really hurt her. In interviews, she's told sources about scandals that she was a part of as a Disney star, like how she got in trouble for taking photos for a fashion publication because they weren't deemed Disney safe, and how she felt pressured to work through even the toughest moments of her life. As we know, Disney hates being seen negatively in the media, and so they pulled away from Miley, but when the 2013 Bangers era hit for Miley, they just completely banned her after that, putting an end to her time at Disney and severing all ties. I will say though, it would have been cool to see a Hannah Montana reboot, but that's probably never gonna happen because Miley and Disney are at odds with each other.
And at number 3, Orlando Brown. Since starring alongside Raven-Symoné in the Disney show That's So Raven, Orlando Brown has been in a lot of trouble with the law. He's been charged on multiple crimes related to domestic violence, domestic battery, obstruction, and drug possession. After police were called during a fight with his then-girlfriend, they arrested and charged Brown, along with charging him on other crimes after they discovered illegal substances in his possession. He was also charged for burglary in 2018, and to make things even worse, he was smiling ear to ear in his mugshot, which is very unsettling. Since Orlando has been in trouble with the law and served jail time, Disney will not risk tarnishing their image by hiring him.
At number 2, Shia Labeouf. Some Disney stars are able to continue having a pretty decent acting career even after their time working for the company has ended. Even though they might not work for Disney, sometimes these stars are able to hold their own for the most part after leaving. This was seemingly the idea for Shia Labeouf, since he continued to be able to find success in the industry since ending his role on Even Stevens, but in recent years his trouble with the law and substance abuse has called down the Disney ban hammer, and now he makes a list of those who are unwelcome at Disney and who would never be hired by the company again. Shia has had multiple run-ins with police, being arrested multiple times over the years, and one of those times resulted in a racism scandal as he hurled racially charged remarks and disrespect towards a black police officer. He also had scandals involving public intoxication and violence, and his most recent scandal involves his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs and her lawsuit against him, where she alleged that he hurt her during the time that they were together. With all of this bad press, Disney no doubt is wanting to scrub themselves clean of their affiliations with the actor because of his bad place in the media, and definitely don't want to think about working with him again.
And finally at number 1, Terrence Howard. If you're a fan of Rhodes/War Machine in the MCU, you know that Don Cheadle plays those roles, but he didn't always play them, and originally Terrence Howard was cast in the role. Howard acted in the first film, but then Cheadle appeared in his place in Iron Man 2, prompting the question of why. Howard addressed it in 2013 on Watch What Happens Live. Howard told Andy Cohen that when it came time to make Iron Man 2, Marvel only wanted to pay him 1/8 of what they originally owed him. Howard even reached out to Robert Downey Jr. for help, who did not offer any support. Howard wasn't okay with the lesser salary, so they booted him from the film and made Cheadle his replacement. After this debacle, I doubt he will ever work with Disney again.
At number 4, Peggy Lee. Before I get into the current drama that's going on now with Disney, I'd first like to tell you about one actress who's forced to sue Disney because of their contract. It seems as though Disney is already familiar with their stars suing because of their contract, because back in 1987, actress Peggy Lee was blindsided by the media company's release of the film Lady and the Tramp, and a lawsuit ensued. Peggy was one of the people behind the making of the 1955 film. Peggy voiced the character Peg, as well as the Siamese cats Cy and Am. Very creative. On top of that, Peggy also sang and co-wrote a handful of songs in the film, like He's a Tramp and Bella Notte. Peggy also contributed to the storyline of the film, making an effort to keep the film family-friendly and to avoid anything too triggering for younger audiences. Needless to say, Peggy contributed a lot to the film, and for all of her hard work, she was paid $4,500. Lady and the Tramp went on to become Disney's best-selling film, dethroning the other Disney classic Snow White, which had held the title for so many years, and because it was such a success in its heyday, Disney decided to do a wide release of the film on VHS in the late 80s, and this brought the company $90 million in profit. Now this was great news for Disney because they had made so much money, but it was bad news for Peggy because she didn't get any of that. Apparently, Disney was reluctant to share their profits with Peggy, and they only offered her a small fee, so she took matters to court. After taking a look at Peggy's contract, it was found that Disney technically did not have the right to sell copies of Peggy's work, and therefore they were in violation of their contractual agreement with the actress. After a 2-week court battle, it was determined that Peggy deserved a bigger cut from the VHS sales, and so she was awarded $2.3 million. This case is pretty similar to what's going on between Scarlett Johansson and Disney, so it will be interesting to see how things play out here, and maybe history will repeat itself and Disney will have to shell out a hefty amount of money. Now before I go any further with the list, I would like to ask you guys consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also consider taking some time to check out my gaming channel Viper Girl if Minecraft gameplay is something that might interest you. I upload new videos every single day, so come check out what we've got going on over there and subscribe. At number 3, Emma Stone. Now although this has yet to be confirmed, sources say that actress Emma Stone could be the next one to seek legal action against Disney. Emma was under contract for Disney after starring in the movie Cruella, which was released in May of this year. This film's release is really what's causing the problem with Emma, because much like Scarlett Johansson and the Black Widow movie, the theatrical release and premiere access on Disney Plus were on the same day, meaning that audiences were able to choose between going to the theater to watch the movie or stay at home and stream it from the company's platform. As part of her contract, Emma was given royalties from the film's theatrical release, which means that she wasn't given a portion of the money from the streaming platform and therefore was cheated out of a pretty good sum of money. Now after seeing Scarlett take on Disney in court, there are reports that Emma might be inclined to join in on that lawsuit to fight for wages lost due to this loophole in the contract. Do you guys think that Emma should join in on the fight? Some people have said that she made enough money and doesn't need to fight for more, but others say that it's less about the money and more so about the principle to show that these companies can't do these kinds of things to their contractors. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. At number 2, Emily Blunt. Another star who is reportedly considering taking legal action against Disney is Emily Blunt. Emily's film Jungle Cruise was recently released, and just like Emma Stone and Scarlett Johansson, her film was released in theaters and on the Disney Plus platform at the same time, causing the same problem that the other two actresses are currently facing. The problem that a lot of people have pointed out with the film being released in both theaters and on Disney Plus is that those who choose to watch it from home on the streaming platform are able to pay a premiere access fee and then watch it as many times as they want, whereas in theaters you just pay for your ticket and you only get to see it once. The potential to make more money is there, but Disney hasn't taken it, which is why Emily Blunt is watching her movie's sales more closely with this release, waiting to make her decision on whether or not she will be suing Disney. Emily has already gone through something similar, as she and her husband John Krasinski had already gotten into a debate with Paramount Plus over the release of their film A Quiet Place 2. It is said that because of the pushback that came with the release of their film due to the pandemic, Emily is very much against this hybrid style of film release, and so we shouldn't really be surprised to see a lawsuit come from Emily as well. She and John were already able to push for a 45-day gap between the theatrical release of A Quiet Place 2 and the Paramount Plus release, so who knows what Emily might fight for this time with Disney. And finally, at number 1, Scarlett Johansson. Now finally, let's talk about Scarlett Johansson and the drama that started all of this in the first place. Following the release of Black Widow both in theaters and on Disney Plus, Scarlett and her legal team issued a lawsuit against Disney alleging that they breached her contract because they went through with doing a hybrid release of the newest Marvel film. In her lawsuit, the actress alleged that Disney guaranteed an exclusive theatrical release of the film, saying that her salary was to be largely based on box office earnings. In response to the lawsuit, a spokesperson for Disney released a statement saying that the actress's lawsuit had no merit and called the legal action being brought forward, quote, especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, end quote. They also went on to say, quote, Disney has fully complied with Ms. Johansson's contract and furthermore, the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with premiere access and has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date. At the end of the day, it's not really about the money, but it's the fact that they breached Scarlett's contract. They promised an exclusive theatrical release and then went back on that, and I feel as though this lawsuit is just to turn this action into a lesson for Hollywood. When the film was released on July 9th, it brought in $80 million at the box office and $60 million on Disney Plus, but even though that's a lot of money, it's still the lowest grossing Marvel film to date. It could be because of the pandemic or maybe the hybrid release affected the film's earnings, but I'm sure that at the end of this, the real analytics will be brought forward as Scarlett takes on this huge company in the lawsuit of the year. At number 10, Bella Thorne. If there's one thing that Disney hates, it's when people talk badly about them. They like keeping their brand as clean, drama-free, and as family-friendly as possible, so when people, especially former stars, come out with their stories about working with Disney and having negative attention thrown their way, Disney does the best that they can to shut that person out and cut ties with them to save them from the drama. This is true for Bella Thorne, as she's done multiple interviews talking about her bad experience working for for Disney. Bella has told sources about how they used to force her to speak in a higher pitched voice to seem more cute and wholesome, and she caused some scandal amongst executives when she was a young teenager because she was photographed in a bikini, and Disney wanted to fire her over it. Later on, after leaving Disney after the end of Shake It Up, Bella went on a journey of self-expression, dyeing her hair bright colors, lowering her voice to its natural register, and branching out into more mature acting roles. Disney wanted to distance themselves from her bad press as she began adopting the stereotype of the Disney kid gone bad, and especially after later scandals that she's been in, I'm sure they're definitely thinking, Bella who? At number 9, Johnny Depp. Out of all Disney's movie franchises, Pirates of the Caribbean films were surely amongst its best and most memorable collections. Johnny Depp in the starring role of Captain Jack Sparrow catapulted the films to great heights and defined pirate roles for sure. But after the initial drama between him and his ex-wife Amber Heard back in 2016, Disney started to pull away from the actor after he was labeled as an abuser by the tabloids. This wasn't good press for Johnny, nor was it for Disney, since his name was so firmly attached to the company and its Pirates films. Johnny lost a lot of respect from Hollywood during this time, though now we know that it was unwarranted since the reports that Johnny was an abuser was a lie. Disney actually ended up barring him from ever being part of any future productions, including those from the Pirates of the Caribbean, and have pulled away from the actor for good. Even though 2020 saw the truth come out about Johnny and Amber's situation, this still hasn't changed Disney's mind about the actor, and unfortunately we may never see the company rescind their ban. If you guys are enjoying the list so far, please consider leaving a like on this video or even share it with your friends too. It really helps our channel to grow and we would love your support. At number 8, Lindsay Lohan. There have been a number of former child stars that the media has dubbed child star gone bad, many of them being former Disney stars. When one thinks about these disgraced child stars, one of the first that might pop into your head might be Lindsay Lohan. There was a time when Lindsay was one of the most sought after young actresses in the industry. From starring in films like The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, Disney loved Lindsay, and this catapulted her career through her childhood and teenage years. But there came a time when Lindsay sort of burned out and she went down a dark path. Soon she was in the media for misdemeanor arrests, drug charges, substance abuse, rehab, jail sentences, probation, and a number of other unfortunate happenings in her life. Since her time working for Disney, Lindsay has been in her share of scandals, and as we know, Disney does not like scandal. Though she will forever be linked with the company since that's where she got her big break, they will no doubt forego hiring her for anything they're producing because of her tarnished reputation. At number 7, Mitchell Musso. Hannah Montana was one of Disney Channel's biggest hit shows. It catapulted Miley Cyrus into stardom, and some of her co-stars felt the bright lights of Hollywood shining down on them as well, one of those stars being Mitchell Musso. Mitchell played one of Miley's best friends, Oliver Oaken, in the show, and all was well, at least until the show's end. Towards his end of the series run, Mitchell changed up his look. He was no longer a shaggy-haired dude who sported layered t-shirts, and he was now a dark-haired rock star. The change happened due to Mitchell's real-life appearance change as he cut his hair shorter, dyed it black, and got a bunch of tattoos. According to Mitchell, the executives freaked out when he showed up on set like this, and so they tried covering it up by including it in the show. After his run on Hannah Montana, Mitchell moved on to other Disney shows, but things were a little rocky for him and the company, as during this time he was in the news for being arrested for a DUI. He was later distanced from the company and hasn't really worked much since, after coming away with a broken image from Disney. At number 6, Jake Paul. You know, sometimes I forget that Jake Paul used to be a Disney star. I mean, you look at the guy post-boxing match, bloody and bruised, and it's hard to imagine that that face was on the Disney Channel. But yeah, before 2017, Jake Paul was a member of the cast of Bizaardvark. That is, until he got fired from the show. Though he was a hard-working actor, he was also in the midst of running Team 10, and at this point, it was still fairly new, but uber successful. Jake was frequently in the news during this time because of backyard fires, noise complaints, police calls, and just being a nuisance to his neighbors, something that they complained about often. Well, after all of Jake's bad press, he got a call from the show's executives saying that they were going to start weaning him off the show and eventually just took him off the show completely. Disney didn't need this kind of bad press from someone that the media was calling a YouTube brat. Jake didn't really seem to mind getting let go from his job since it allowed him to grow his YouTube presence even more, and I guess it kind of worked out if you call pestering Conor McGregor at every waking moment on the internet a success, that is. Don't really think so. At number 5, Armie Hammer. Do you guys remember the 2013 film The Lone Ranger? You probably don't. That's because it was a Disney flop, and it's actually one of its worst grossing films ever, as it barely made back enough money to cover their over $200 million movie budget. When the movie tanked, the blame was being shifted around, and some landed on the film's star, Armie Hammer. As the Lone Ranger himself, his performance was given the blame for how poorly the film had done. Since the movie tanked so badly, Disney never really took a chance on him again, but even if he was still in their good books, he certainly has been removed from them now. Armie has now been caught in a new scandal involving leaked DMs that paint him as something of a cannibal? The messages that have been leaked to the internet include him saying that he wants to take a bite out of his partner and wants to drink their blood. Reports came out recently that one of his ex-girlfriends said that Armie once carved an A into her flesh, adding to the disturbing reports surrounding Armie. Disney must have issued a ban for him now, just in case there was ever a possibility for a Lone Ranger sequel. At number 4, Zac Efron. I want to know just how many people watching this have seen the High School Musical movies. I lived off those. They were my entire childhood, and Zac Efron was very present in my life as his face decorated many a school bag or t-shirt. Zac was Disney's golden boy because of the success of the High School Musical movies and everything that came with it. They really milked every last drop of Disney magic out of that guy, and after the films wrapped, Zac just left the scene, and he was very outspoken about his time working for the mouse. We know that Disney doesn't like being badmouthed, and they especially don't like being made fun of in the media, but this is exactly what Zac did when he was a guest on SNL back in 2009. This took place just after the third High School Musical movie came out, and he did a skit on SNL where his character, Troy Bolton, returned to East High to talk to the newest graduating class and tell them that life is very different after high school and that his life is over because he decided to grow up. It was all fine until they brought in someone who played a thawed-out Walt Disney who warned Zac about Disney stars' futures. They joked about the fact that Disney stars always crash and burn after leaving Disney, and the company doesn't appreciate that, and so now they make a point of not working with Zac anymore. At number 3, Miley Cyrus. Much like High School Musical was my childhood, so was Hannah Montana. Watching Miley Stewart live a double life as a pop star was my jam, but it turns out that it was Miley Cyrus's nightmare. Over the years since leaving Disney, she's been very outspoken about her time on set, as well as being a child star on the Disney Channel and how it really hurt her. In interviews, she's told sources about scandals that she was a part of as a Disney star, like how she got in trouble for taking specific photos because they weren't deemed Disney safe, and how she felt pressured to work through even the toughest moments of her life. As we know, the mouse hates bad press, and so they pulled away from Miley, but when the 2013 Bangers era hit for Miley, they just banned her after that. The Bangers era saw hits like We Can't Stop, Wrecking Ball, and that cringy Dancing with Robin Thicke and that tongue thing that became popular for a short time. On top of that, Miley was caught drinking and doing drugs on stage and being very open about her substance use. Though that era has definitely ended, those things will stick with Miley and Disney will never forget it, hence her ban. At number 2, Stoney Westmoreland. In 2018, Salt Lake City police were conducting an investigation to uncover identities of known predators in the area, and through this investigation, they discovered that former Disney actor Stoney Westmoreland was guilty of luring underage people. The police were able to apprehend the actor by using a fake profile on a dating site, and he was arrested and charged with 6 felony counts. As a result of his arrest and his crimes, he was promptly fired from his role as a grandfather from the Disney Channel series Andy Mack. Disney has since banned him from not only working, but from being broadcast on TV. Reruns of the show, as well as episodes available to viewers on the Disney Plus streaming service, have removed episodes that include Stoney from the roster. Stoney will not be working ever again. At number 1, Shia Labeouf. Some Disney stars are able to continue having a pretty decent career even after their time working for the company has ended. Even though they may not work for the mouse, sometimes these stars are able to hold their own for the most part. This was seemingly the idea for Shia Labeouf, since he continued to hold his own in the industry after leaving his role on Even Stevens, but in recent years his trouble with the law and substance abuse has called down the Disney ban hammer, and now he makes the list of those who are unwelcome at Disney. Shia has had multiple run-ins with police, being arrested multiple times over the years, and one of those times resulted in a racism scandal as he hurled racially charged remarks and disrespect towards a black police officer. He has also had scandals involving public intoxication and violence, and his most recent scandal involves his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs and her lawsuit against him, where she alleges that he abused her during their time that they were together. With all of this bad press, Disney is no doubt wanting to scrub themselves clean of their affiliations with the actor because of his bad place in the media.